Madame Toastmaster, fellow members, guests. My name is George Bunker. I was born on a 90,000 acre cattle ranch in the West Desert of Utah. My father had the ranch split up into 7 different sections. On each section he had a family with a wife and children. He had an airplane that he flew into each ranch each night. Monday nights he landed at our ranch. He worked in Salt Lake. My father was an inventor. In fact, if you got up this morning and you read this morning's newspaper, there's probably a chance my dad invented the technology that printed that paper. As I grew up on the ranch, as you can probably guess by now, I came from a polygamous family known as the Church of Jesus Christ of Fundamentalist Latter-day Saints, or the FLDS. You've probably heard of it. About the time I hit 15 years old, it became pretty apparent I wasn't fitting in very well in the ranch, and I got caught in the woodshed with Sylvia, and that just talking with Sylvia, which was not accepted. I am one of the lost boys, one of about 1,000 young men who were excommunicated from the church at the age of 15 to keep the competition down between the elders and the young girls. So, generally what happens with the lost boy is they're put in a van, they're driven into St. George, Utah, they're dropped off, they become wards of the state. One of the largest orphanages in the country is in St. George. Now this has been shut down, the lost boys are no more. Warren Jeffs was put in prison, and that put an end to that era. For me, I saw it coming. I talked one of my brothers into giving me a ride, 40 miles, 2 weeks after my 15th birthday. I talked one of my brothers into giving me a ride down to Highway 50 and 6, dropping me off. I put my thumb up in the air, off to Sacramento I headed. Somehow I got picked up by a guy who had escaped from prison. Stolen a station wagon, and he was drinking out of a 12-pack of beer as we were headed down the highway. We got into Tracy, California, and I told him, I'll be getting out here. As I sat out in the field on the edge of the grocery store parking lot thinking, what am I going to do for a living? How am I going to survive? And the sun would go down, I'd go to the dumpster and get the vegetables and the pastries or the meat that was thrown away. I'm watching a woman come out of the store. They had just come out with these new bill changers in these soda pop machines. You could get a Shasta for 15 cents and a regular soda for $0.25. I saw her put the money in for her kids, and the coins came out. I was in business. I stuffed newspaper up both coin machines, coin return. The next day I had $70 come out of the coin machine. All right. I never went hungry again. But from this point, and I'm sorry, from this point, so here, this map right here depicts my journeys between the time I was 17 till I turned 18 years old. I was homeless, I was hitchhiking, doing whatever I needed to survive. But if you look at each of these little stars here, there's a city there, whether it be Reno, Elko, Salt Lake, Evanston, Wyoming, Tracy, California, San Jose was my favorite. I always had all the machines staked out. I never hit one machine twice in a row because I didn't want to get caught. But that led to trouble. Turned 18 years old. I ended up in trouble with the law. The law was after me. I saw it coming. I turned myself in. I was for financial crimes and such, right? You could only guess, right? So 6 months sentence, a couple weeks into it, I realized this wasn't the life I wanted to live. I sent a letter to the jailer, pleaded with him to give it to the judge. The judge saw me and she said, I'll tell you what, I believe in your story and I have faith in you that you're going to make something of yourself in this life. So I'm going to let you out. When you get a job, I'll let you stay out. From now it's just work release. My brother dropped me off at a restaurant. A woman interviewed me. I told her my story. And I said, please don't make me go stay in jail again tonight. She believed in me and she wrote that letter to the judge. 6 months later, I married that woman. I don't recall falling in love for about 10 years, but I am truly, madly in love with my wife, and I have been. For the last 24 years we've been married. Working in the restaurant together, we realized we worked well together. We could do this ourselves. So we opened a little cafe, and another, and another. Down the road another 10 years, we opened another. While we were working in the restaurants together, we realized that being together all the time wasn't real healthy for us, especially at that young age. So I decided to take a job fueling airplanes at the airport. I was fueling one airplane in particular that caused my life to take a big change. This is a U.S. Marshals Saberliner. They transport prisoners around the country. I was fueling this airplane. When I pulled my single point nozzle back, I noticed some contamination around the single point. And it was green. So I called attention to it, and people weren't really listening. I eventually got on a tugger, and I went over to the FAA, and I said, you've got to keep that airplane from taking off. He was at the end of the runway, powering up to take off. I took a sample of what looked like antifreeze to me. They stopped the airplane from taking off. Turned out the filter in that the PTO of the truck I was using had a hole in it, and several commercial airliners, including this one, had gotten contaminated fuel. They grounded those airplanes. They found the contamination in their filters. I got a promotion. Minimum wage, $3.15 an hour. I now ran the fuel farm at the airport. And I went from running the fuel farm at the airport to driving a truck, doing deliveries on the weekends, went into the refinery work, working the refineries, onto the gas plants, into the pipeline, got into the drilling side of the business. In 2002, my family suffered a tragedy. Our youngest son was killed in a workplace accident. At that point, I decided that I was going to do everything in my power to prevent another family from losing a loved one in the workplace. I became passionate in developing safety management systems. I've developed the systems for several companies, including Shell Oil Company being the largest company I developed a management system for. I brought my best friend in with me, got him a job roughnecking, told him he had to roughneck for a year, brought him on as my assistant. Brian and I have worked since 2004 together all around the country, building management systems to help keep people safe. This is Brian. Last month I gave a eulogy for Brian. He was killed in a workplace accident. So wanted to pay a little tribute to him here today. But within this journey and the years of travel and the adventure, I've been able to see some pretty incredible places, meet some pretty incredible people. Just by happen chance, I ended up living a pretty darn good life. I think within this journey of life, I found the adventure. I ended up with an incredible family, incredible children, amazing friends. Within that journey, the little adventures continue, and they will continue. And here we are right now in another little adventure with the Toastmasters. So thank you, Madam Toastmasters.